My name's Morley Wallace. I own a company called GPS Ontario. We are located just south of Ottawa, and we've been in the precision ag business for over 20 years, doing GPS systems for agriculture. All these things that are on the screen there, they're all benefits of having that fertilizer blended properly. Currently, right now, with the testing that we are doing over the last 6 to 10 years, we are starting to see a 20 to 25% increase in crop production, a 40% less fertilizer application. We have 50% less weed spray going on the ground to kill those weeds. We have 50% less labor because we're only strip tilling, and we're fertilizing and strip tilling and tillage all in the one pass. So we're not cultivating once, disking once, broadcasting fertilizer, redisking that back in and planting and making 5-6 passes. We're doing that. We can do that all in 2 passes and maybe 3 at the most and have that seed growing. The last one there is our second last is 50% less fuel. Obviously, if I'm moving over the field half as much, half the labor, and then that lends us also to less wear and fatigue on the equipment. So blending of the fertilizer is the most important action of the whole process. Whether you have a case strip till unit, you have a soil wire, you have a Dawn Pluribus, it's the blending of that fertilizer that you have to concentrate on. And if you get that correct, then you're going to end up with a light, fluffy, moist, warm seed bed for that seed to be planted into. And that's exactly what that seed is looking for. It wants to be warm. So even though it's in the spring of the year and the ground is still reasonably cold around and damp, I go in and I strip till, I put my fertilizer in the ground. I leave it 24 to 48 hours before I plant my seed. That ground is warmed up, it is dried out to a certain degree, it is light, it is fluffy, and it is ready to take that seed. And you are driving on firm ground. So your seed placement now, you're not bouncing all over the place with your planter driving at 5, 6, 7 miles an hour. You're actually driving on a firm surface. And one of the other benefits of that is, now I'm on a firm surface, I'm not creating compaction. That is then becoming a problem as well. So there's a lot of different things that are happening here by changing the method of how we actually work our soil and prep that soil so it will actually receive a seed.
I think we're getting close to the end of our time.
Yeah, but we didn't start until 5 after, 7 minutes after. Okay, so there's a root sitting on one of the picnic table chairs, just giving you a picture visually of how big that root actually is and how round and uniform it actually is. And then that's a picture of the same root with all the dirt and mud and everything out of it. And you can see the anchor roots, you can see the secondary roots, and then you can see also quite a mass of hairlet roots that are off of those secondaries, picking up all that fertilizer. We can all grow more with less. We just have to change the process of how we do it. Okay, so Rod's going to hand you out some more, a couple sheets of paper here. That's a very brief on fertile stripping. The other topic that I want to introduce you to today is something that is fairly brand new to the farming industry: nitrous oxide evaporation in our soils. The evaporation of nitrogen, your ureas, your ammonium nitrates in the soil that is being evaporated. How many have heard much about nitrous oxide evaporation? Okay, a couple of you, good. Take a strong look at this whole program. It is very vital, it is very important. It's coming at you whether you know it or not. And So what you've been given is a sheet of paper that I received last week. GPS Ontario has been contracted by the Invest Ottawa group. It's an Ottawa organization and we are cropping about 125 acres of land at the experimental farm in Ottawa off of Woodruff Avenue. We are using the fertile stripping program to create the crop, and this program, nitrous oxide testing, is being done by the University of Ottawa. There's a professor there that is doing this testing. This is his second sheet of reporting that I printed off last Thursday, so it is that new to us. And I just want to go quickly over this sheet before our time runs out and explain what you're actually seeing on the sheet so it makes sense to you. This Professor Ted this is the first year for the study. It's nowhere to be considered as 100% absolute, but it is some pretty solid information. If you look at the blue line on that sheet of paper, it is basically unworked land. So this field where we're doing this testing is exactly like what you're sitting on right now. It's just grass. It's been mowed. It has not been fertilized with anything for 25 years. So there's no pre-season contamination of this soil from previous application of fertilizer. And what this blue line is showing basically is the roots are rotting under the soil, and the grass that is growing this year on top of the soil is taking that nitrogen and turning it into green growth. But it is showing, that blue line is showing no evaporation of nitrous oxide into the air, which is great. We don't want it. We don't want that. Nitrous oxide is more deadly to humans and to the ozone than carbon monoxide is. So this is where the concern is coming from. If we look at the red line is basically conventional broadcast fertilizer. So what we did was we took another little spot and we broadcasted with a lawn fertilizer spreader over that ground, and then we worked that soil with a rototiller on the back of my big tractor in 2 inches. So we can set the depth, we know where the fertilizer went, we know how deep it is, we were accurate with what we were doing, worked it into that soil. You can see by the chart the first 10 days, from 160 day in the year to 170 day in the year, there was very little activity of that nitrous oxide escaping. In the second 10 days, you saw some activity. Well, that was the fertilizer breaking down and starting to convert and starting to be evaporated. On the next 45 days, you can see the spikes and how much nitrous oxide was being evaporated into the air. A huge amount of your nitrogen was going into the air. If it's in the air, it's not in the soil. If it's not in the soil, it's not going to your plant. So we're losing a lot of that nitrogen into the air.
Clay soil?
Sorry?
Clay?
It's a clay loamy soil, yeah. But not heavy clay. The experimental farm in Ottawa goes anywhere from a heavy clay to a blow sand. So it could be almost anything, but in the area where we were at, it's fairly firm soil. It's a clay loam soil. Yeah. Which obviously we will move that plot to another location and repeat it next year and the year after type thing. But once again, this is the first year study. It's information, but it should still be somewhat relevant throughout. By the time you hit the 210-day stage, that'll get you about the 3rd week of June, which is just about the time that you decide that you're going to start side dressing and put nitrogen on. And this chart is basically showing that that's just about the time you should be putting it on. Okay? And then we didn't side dress that plot this year because we wanted to see how that fertilizer was going to peter out by the time it got to now, this time of the year, September 1st. So this actually goes up to last week when it was really hot in Ottawa. So that's the red line. The green line is basically the conventional strip till fertilized with a 2x2 band off to the side. In this particular application, though, we didn't use 2x2 or 2x3 sideband. We actually took out the earth and put the fertilizer at the bottom of the 5-inch trench, and then filled it back in again and ran our test on it. So it took a little longer for that fertilizer to percolate up through that 5 inches than it would be if it was a 3x3 or something like that. But if you follow the green line, you can kind of see that, where it wasn't as quick to evaporate as the red, as the conventional, but then it seemed to catch up and almost take over and be more volatile in that latter part, 45-day period, which is being shown on here. Just about the same time as the conventional fertilizer ran out, so did the fertile stripping. So that's when you would be going in and side dressing to add your extra nitrogen in there. And then once again it peters out to almost nothing by the 240th day. The fertile stripping program that I'm running is the orange line, or the gold colored line. And if you look across it, you're seeing that there is very little evaporation of nitrous oxide in the air from that process. That fertilizer has gone into the ground. I said earlier in the previous portion of the presentation, the blending process is important, and I will go back to that. The blending process, if you surround every particle of grain of that granular fertilizer with soil, that soil will pick that nutrient up as quick as it dissolves. So it is being captured and converted and held there for the plant. And that's what I believe this testing is actually showing. And because our plants and the growth is so rapid on our plants, it is also indicating that yes, the food is there, and yes, the plant is capturing that food out of the ground and making it very efficient. So that's basically the program. What my concern is that if we don't look at this nitrous oxide evaporation and what have you, and the government steps in and says, you as farmers are creating 90% of this nitrous oxide gas in the air, they're going to shut down our ability to apply nitrogen to our soil. And they're going to restrict us back to, okay, you can put 10% on or 20% on or whatever. That's not enough to grow a crop. So I think this is something that I wanted to bring forward today. It's brand new. By the show of hands, not many of you knew much about it. But do take the paper home, look at it, go on the internet, research it out a little bit, and anybody that wants more information on it, don't hesitate to give me a email, and I'll put you on the list of, as more information comes along, I will pass it on to you. This Professor Tet from the University of Ottawa, by Christmas, I would say, by the end of the year, he will have numbers related to every one of these peaks and spikes, kind of relating what the dollar and cent cost will be to this efficiencies or deficiencies of this chart. And I think that will help us as well in determining what we're going to be doing. So, wanted to introduce that to you. I think it's something that will be affecting us. Gentleman up when I was having lunch said that he figured it would be about 9 years before the legislation came in to correct this. I hadn't heard that till 20 minutes ago, but I'm willing to share this information as best I can and keep you informed as best I can, but it is something that is coming, and be aware of it. Any questions? Yes?
Well, so on your fertile stripping,
Yep.
on the trial, did you just take that dirt out, mix it with the fertilizer, and put it back in?
No, I put it as if it was a 2x2 band or a rope, a string of sausage. Oh no. Oh, mine?
Yeah.
No. It was blended right into the soil.
You took the soil out, blended the fertilizer
No,
with it, put it
no.
back?
The machine. I have a Dawn strip till unit, 6 row, It's a Flexicoil air cart, 1330 with 3-point hitch, the 1330 plus, so it has the 3-point hitch on the back of it. We have a 6-row Dawn row unit there, and we put that fertilizer in with the Dawn strip till cart. The front cart it's a 2-bin cart. Front cart has nitrogen in it. This year we used 40% urea, 60% ESN at 125 to 130 pounds per acre. And in that blend we also had 200 pounds of pelleted lime. So that went on at about 300 to 325 pounds to the acre. And that was our nitrogen upfront blend, and then behind was phosphorus potash. And both those bins are hydraulic driven motors, so we can do variable rate.